Assalamu alaikum, friends. This program is called Islamic Values. It is how Muslim values contribute towards the well being of the entire society. As there are about 15 values we have worked together, Dr. Safi Kaskas and I, and we will be sharing every Sunday 2 to 3. And if anybody wants to join, but it will be on YouTube, uh, how these values contribute towards the Islamic to the world in general. Let me introduce Dr. Kaskas first. Dr. Safi Kaskas is a management executive and a strategist with more than 40 years of experience. For this program, Dr. Kaskas has co-authored the Quran with the references to Bible, and that book is in the hands of Pope Francis as well, and he admired it because for every verse in the Quran there is a matching verse in Bible, and this is a good research work that he has done, and that must be admired. All of you should own the book, A Contemporary Understanding of Islam, a new, never before completed translation of the Quran into a contemporary English featuring more than 3,000 parallel references to the Bible. Pope Francis has appreciated this book, and you have got to own this book. We read different translations by Yusuf Ali, Dr. Muhammad Asad, and there are about 75 different translations or maybe more. And in each translation, there is confusion, there is not clarity. What Dr. Kaskas has done is written in simple American English so all of us can understand. And with that, with that introduction, I will ask Dr. Safi to talk about. First, we're going to talk about Eid Al Adha, it as a value, how it can make the world a better place. Dr. Kaskas, you go first.
Thank you, Mike, and welcome to the friends we have here. Actually, I'm going to start my talk about Yawm Arafah, because tomorrow will be Yawm Arafah, and it's a very important day in the life of a Muslim. Tomorrow is the day of Arafah, and according to correct sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ, is the best day we will all witness. The best supplication, dua, during this day is to say, لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. There is no God but Allah alone, without partners. To him belongs the kingdom, and to him is praise. He gives lives and death, and he has power over all things. The sacrifice is after the Eid prayer usually, just to remind people not to sacrifice before Eid prayer. The sacrifice is after Salat al-Eid, the Eid prayer. With the approach of Eid Al Adha, Muslims are asking questions about the rule or the legality of paying the value of sacrifices to poor countries to be sacrificed there. The sacrifice is a confirmed sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The one who does it is rewarded, and the one who neglects it is not punished. The legality of the sacrifice.
That is an important point. You said not punished. I'm
Yes.
so glad you mentioned that. Please
Sure.
continue.
Yes. The legality of the sacrifice in the Holy Quran is evidenced by the almighty verse, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ. Wanhar is to offer a sacrifice. We have given you al-Kawthar. Allah is talking to Prophet Muhammad, telling him that we have given you al-Kawthar. So pray for your Lord and sacrifice Surah al-Kawthar. As for the Sunnah, it is proven that the Prophet ﷺ used to sacrifice and even undertake the slaughter of his sacrifice himself. According to the saying of Anas bin Malik, the Prophet ﷺ sacrificed 2 good-looking horn rams, muttafaq alayh. Now, there are a lot of things we can talk about here, but I want to limit what I talk about to the important points. A lot of questions are asked by people, and a lot of scholars provided their opinions. I like to stick to talk about ruling on sending the sacrifice money to the people of the country of the sacrifice. In other words, if you are living in a rich Muslim country and you're a rich Muslim, you pay zakat and you have to do the sacrifice. The ulama are saying you cannot send the money outside that rich country that you are a citizen in. You are living in as a citizen, because part of the sunnah is to eat out the sacrifices.
A third of it.
Yes, and the sacrifice itself is not only about money. It's not something we do just to feed the poor or to eat ourselves. It's a form of worship, it's a form of ibadah. So apparently Allah is asking us to sacrifice this animal as a way to express our taqwa. And he's saying this in the Quran, and I will read the ayah later on. He is also asking us to do this sacrifice because he wants us to see the animal, understand the sacrifice we're doing, participate in the sacrifice, and there are rules for how to do the sacrifice. It shows that the rules, in short, shows that a Muslim is not killing an animal cruelly. He's killing an animal uh, with a lot of
Mercifully.
mercy, with a lot of tenderness, with caring about the feeling of the animal, never kicking the animal, never putting his foot on the animal, never pulling the hair of the animal. All this is important, and it is, our scholars told us that these are the things to avoid and these are the things to follow. So, but basically, the key issue is if you are a Muslim living not in the country of origin, where your extended family live, like me in the United States, I can send the money that for the sacrifice to Lebanon, for instance, where my extended family can
Benefit
kill
from
an
it.
animal in my name, do the sacrifice, and distribute the meat among them and among other poor people. But if you're an American who was born in the United States and living here, it's better that you do your sacrifice here. A Saudi living in Saudi Arabia is better to do his sacrifice in Saudi Arabia. But there are some ulama now that are saying, I mean, there is no unanimity on this to the extent that we can say there is ijma'. There
Yes.
is ijma' on certain aspects, and there is contradictory opinion on others. Some people are saying because of poverty, if you know of poverty and you know that people truly need that money, you can send them the money and they will take care of the sacrifice. This is basically the issue of the sacrifice in a nutshell. I have more details. If you all decide to hear more details, I have the specific ulama and what they said. But I also gave you in a nutshell what they all are saying. Now we can, if you want, keep talking about this or move to talk about other issues that
I
you deem
just
to be important.
Sure. Friends, you're listening to Dr. Safi Kaskas on the program Islamic Values, how they contribute towards the well-being of the the entire Ummah, entire Alameen. So I'm going to present an alternate, Dr. Kaskas. 1,000 years ago, the assets of a man were made up of his goats, camels, herd, and cattle. The ultimate sacrifice one would make would be to give away his precious asset in gift, like Allah asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. Today, the most loved possession is money, and people are willing to give up a lot of things but the money. Money is indeed our precious asset as it has the ability to buy just about everything. Is it possible to donate money to charitable causes for upliftment of the poor, feeding the hungry anytime as a sadaqah instead of animal sacrifice, given what's going on in the world? And of course, Bill Gates had sent a very good message, and they were all criticizing Muslims about killing so many animals on one day. And he said, look at McDonald's, look at Wendy's. They kill a lot more animals per day than the Muslims do on the day of Hajj. So, what would be your prob- uh, comment on sacrificing, not sacrificing the animal, but sacrificing their possession, which is money, to the people who are in need? They can use the knee in any way. They can use it to run a small business and feed their family and becomes a sadaqah jariyah.
Is this a question for me?
Yes, your comment on that.
Yes. Well, Mike, money was never the most precious possession of a human being. For instance, you can take all my money, but don't even touch my son. My son is much more valuable than all of my money.
Very
I
true.
also collect Quran transcripts, and you can take all my money, but please don't touch my Quran transcripts. They're handwritten. Some of them are extremely old, 2nd or 3rd century, and I don't want anybody to touch them. They're very valuable for me. Because my life is the Quran, I have to have these manuscripts around me all the time. I refer to them, I go to them, I look at them. Anyway, let me read the verse from the Quran that talks about the sacrifice, and let you be the judge. The Quran says, "Inna Allah." It says, "لن ينال الله لحومها ولا دماؤها ولكن يناله التقوى منكم كذلك سخرها لكم لتكبروا الله على ما هداكم." This is in Surah Al-Hajj, verse is 37. So the verse says very simply that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not getting the meat of you're not killing the animal and the meat is going to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nor its blood, nor is he, I can interpret here and say, it's not the meat nor the blood of this animal that Allah cares about. What he cares about is your God consciousness, that you're conscious of what God asks you to do, and you are doing. So God is telling us in the rest of the verse, he made these animals a help for you, so you can use them. And then on the day that you present them as a sacrifice, you will call that Allah is the greatest and thank him on the way he guided you. So he's asking us, he's not asking us to kill because of material possession. He's asking us to kill these animals as a show of our own piety, of our own God fear, God consciousness. And he's asking us to show our faith through doing it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot send money anywhere you want, but it would not be for adhiyah. It
Indeed.
will not be for sacrifice. It will be charity.
Yes.
So, yeah, and it is extremely important that we always send money as charity where it is needed. That's the best way we can translate the term ummah into practice, Muslim brotherhood into practice.
Yes.
The only way we can show that we truly care is when we give some of our money to those who need it the most.
Indeed. Indeed. Friends, you're listening to the program Islamic Values, how they contribute towards the well-being of the Alameen. And one of the values we were talking about is Eid Al Adha, and we will sacrifice. And Dr. Ibrahim Sayed is here. If he has a comment or question, we can take that. And after that, we'll continue with the Islamic values that we want to continue in the next 17 or 18 weeks. Dr. Ibrahim Sayed, if you have a question, please.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Recently, our friend Dr. Aslam.
Can you tilt the computer towards forward so you can? Yeah, there you go.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can. MashaAllah.
Our friend Dr. Aslam Abdullah is a scholar and is an imam.
Yes.
And he wrote that the sacrifice is only for the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the sacrifice is for me, the Salatul Witr is for me, and the Eid Al Duha, this is Salatul Duha is for me. So the references you made for the Qurbani or sacrifice is only for those who are doing the Hajjis, not for other people.
Okay.
So my
Here's
point
my
is,
answer.
those people who are not doing the Hajj,
Mm.
they don't need to do the sacrifice.
Yes, that's a great opinion. It's a good opinion. It's somebody's opinion out of this ummah. For the last 1400 years, though, the scholars of this ummah agreed that it's sunnah mu'akkada, confirmed sunnah, that every Muslim on a certain day have to sacrifice an animal. I'm not a mufti, nor am I someone who specializes in this issue at all. I just related to you what my research led me to say, using other scholars' opinions. But I understand where that opinion is coming from. It's good. And also, what Bill Gates said about this is also good. I understand it. I mean, I can relate to it. On one day, we kill millions of sheep and goats and camels. That's somewhat focused and very concentrated. Now, the only way we can truly have a 100% opinion on this is to ask the Prophet ﷺ again. And that's almost impossible. The other way is to try to understand what Allah is telling us in the Quran. Is he talking specifically to the Prophet, or is he talking to the Prophet and to us? He says, it looks to me like in Surah Al-Hajj, Allah is talking to all Muslims. So I really don't know. I cannot tell you 100% what is meant, but I can tell you what those scholars have said. If you want, I can read the verses before, so we can have a little bit more guidance on what Allah is saying. It says in verse, for instance, in verse 34, it says, وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ جَعَلْنَا مَنْسَكًا لِيَذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَى مَا رَزَقَهُم مِّن بَهِيمَةِ الْأَنْعَامِ وإلهكم إله واحد فله أسلموا وبشر المخبتين الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم والصابرين على ما أصابهم والمقيمين الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. These are they're general verses. They're not specifically to the Prophet, nor are they speaking to the Prophet himself. In verse 34, Allah is telling us, لكل أمة, for each ummah. We created a way of worship, mansak. ليذكر اسم الله على ما رزق, so they can say the name of Allah, so they can, before they eat it, before they spend it, before they do anything, they will do it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here specifically, he says, على ما رزقهم من بهيمة الأنعام. That means he's talking specifically about sheep, goats, and camels,
Cattle.
Cattle. So I don't know. I cannot give you a definite opinion again, because I'm not really a mufti, and this is not really my specialty.
I appreciate that, Dr. Kaskas. Yes, anybody has any question before we move on to the next slide?
No, I want to, can I say something?
Yes.
Of course.
No, I want to confirm what Dr. Safi Kaskas said, and I disagree with Ibrahim. It's for everybody. It's not only people with Hajj. I am involved in this for over 30, 40 years. I mean, there's a difference between the commercial and the individual sacrifice. So we have to make that clear. The commercial one is not done the proper way, in my opinion. except for food. But Dr. Safi Kaskas is correct. It's for all of humanity, and all of us have to abide by it. Unless if you can, if you cannot, you are excused, like he said. But it's for all of us. If you cannot afford it, then you will be the receiver, and you will still get the reward. But it's for all of us. If you can, and you are a head of household and a male, what I would like to ask Dr. Safi Kaskas to touch on is the age of the animal. It has to be over 6 months for the sheep, and for cow over 2 years, and for camel over 4 years. This is what people miss a lot. And why we avoid slaughtering female sheep, because they could be pregnant, and you will be killing the unborn babies too. So I would leave it at that. But Dr. Safi Kaskas is right, and unfortunately Ibrahim is not. It's a wrong opinion, in my opinion.
Habib, it was not his opinion. He was sharing the opinion of Dr.
I
Aslam.
see. Okay, all right.
It was
Okay,
not his opinion.
I apologize then.
No problem. Ayub, I believe you had a
Yes.
question?
Yes. It's kind of very confusing. I understand and I agree that sacrifice should be done, and Dr. Kaskas has recited many ayats from Quran. I believe I firmly believe that Islam is a religion of rationale, for sure. You
Yes.
don't need to be a mufti or an alim and have spend your life reading Quran. If you have some common sense, I think you can understand and do the right things. So my sort of question or comment is what Dr. Kaskas said initially, that people who live here, if they have been born, like my son, we are from Pakistan, but my son was born here. Is he supposed to do his sacrifice here? I encourage him to send the money, do the sacrifice, but send the money to poor people where it is used more wisely. We don't need to sacrifice here and eat more meat or distribute meat here, although here there are many needy people, but back home in other countries, there are people who are much in need of that sacrifice. So we try to do, not only me and my husband, but also we encourage our son and his wife to send their money for sacrifice to Pakistan, to Bangladesh, to India, anyway. So I just want some clarification from Dr. Kaskas there. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, he said that if you are born here, then you should do it here, you should spend it here.
He's right, though.
Yes. Well, sister, I like very much what you said about the rationality of Islam. And I like very much that we continue to use our critical thinking regardless who tells us what. Okay? In my opinion, using our critical thinking is as important as doing our salat and siyam and all of this, because the Quran also asks us to use our head. And a lot of Muslims do their prayers and do their siyam mechanically and forget to use their critical thinking. And with that, they will be fouling. They will be taken away from Islam, the essence of using this greatest gift that Allah gave to humanity, which is our brains.
Exactly.
So, having said this, and I will always say this about any issue, reason comes first as far as I'm concerned. Having said this, I'll tell you what I've read and what I understood. What I've read is the family is at the essence of this Quranic practice. The family and the poor in that family, they come first before anybody else. And for this reason, the ulama apparently gave an ifta saying that killing the animal and benefiting your extended family if this family is overseas, is much better than trying to do the sacrifice in the where you're living in the new country you're living in, because الأقربون أولى بالمعروف. There is a legal Sharia rule that says those who are closest to you, closest relative, are more deserving of your good deeds. But anyway, whatever I'll tell you now, it will be my own opinion, okay? Because this is not, I'm not a mufti, and I'm not qualified to give you ifta.
No, you're not a mufti, but you are an extremely well-read scholar, so your opinion counts. And it just goes against my common sense that it is meant for your closest relatives. Well, the closest relatives are all well off. What's the point in sending them meat and they sending meat back to you, the common practice?
Actually,
I would rather give it to poor people.
Yes, sister, it just happened that we are from Lebanon, and Lebanon right now is going through a very bad crisis, and there are people hungry. People are actually hungry. To tell you the truth, a few days ago, my wife called her sister there, because before every Eid, we try to distribute whatever people need at that time. So she wanted to distribute meat. The market has no meat, she was told. No one is able to buy meat at this time. Now they're trying to buy 2 sheep instead, and the prices are way up there. They're trying to buy 2 sheep and distribute the meat. I told my son, I'm going to answer you this way, indirectly. I told my son to send his money over there because of the great need over there. You know, I didn't tell my son, and then it's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to consider it dhabiha or to consider it sadaqah. It's not in my hand, it's in Allah's hand. I know what the ulama have said. I know what my brain is telling me to do. I know where my heart is. I want to please Allah, and I think I'll please Him by answering an actual need that really exists.
Exactly.
Sister Yusufi, you mentioned a good point. In fact, we use this slogan in all our writings at the World Muslim Congress that I write: if it is not common sense, then it is not Islam.
True.
And that's similarly, you made a similar statement.
Anymore.
Indeed. Friends, if we don't have any more questions, we move to what our program is in the next 16 or 17 weeks. And both of us will talk about Islam has remained a myth to many people, including Muslims. Its essence, purpose, and its role vis-a-vis humanity, connecting with how Islam benefits the humanity, are seldom understood or even explained. The teaching for Islam were designed to build kind, just, and caring societies where every human feels secure. And we are going to talk about these ideas in the next 17 weeks. Dr. Coxcus, please go ahead. Share your thoughts.
Well, basically, I like the fact that you invited me to participate in this program, because we're going to talk about values. I mean, after I finished translating the meaning of the Quran into simple English, I decided this is not enough. If I'm going to give my American neighbors, especially the young American neighbors, high school level education, if I'm going to give them a true idea about Islam, I should also look for the kindest of manners, makarim al-akhlaq, that we were taught by Prophet ﷺ, and gather it all in a book. Then I thought maybe this book already exists. Why reinvent the wheel? And to tell you the truth,
let me show the book. Keep going.
How can he have the book if I didn't print it yet? So,
and this is the book.
Oh, that's your book. Okay. So I've been thinking about it, and you went ahead and did it?
Yes.
Very good.
It's all the 17 values are listed in that,
Very good.
and each value is backed up by at least 4 verses from the Quran and at least 1 or 2 hadiths.
Yeah. Actually, my book was specifically a book of hadith. And I decided to gather all the hadith that talk about makarim al-akhlaq, the kindest of manners, and put them in one book, English and Arabic. And I thought that will help young people understand our values. To my great surprise, I found that, for instance, we have encyclopedias about tahara and najasa, how to do your wudu, how to clean yourself from this, that, or the other, what foot to use to go to the bathroom first. But no book exists with a collection of the ahadith of makarim al-akhlaq. None existed. I thought I must be mistaken. So I went and asked in Egypt, I asked in Saudi Arabia, I asked in Beirut, where most Arabic books are printed, as far as I know, and I asked in many places. None exist. Nobody bothered to collect those ahadith together in one book. So I said, Alhamdulillah, I'm going to do it. And I did it. It's online now. Anybody can reach it. Anybody can access it. Go to my website, kaskas.com, go to the page of hadith and download it. You can also download my Quran translation by doing the same thing. Go to my website, go to the Quran page, and download my Quran translation. Actually, it's not a Quran translation. It's a translation of the meaning of the Quran, because I wasn't translating what Allah had in mind. I was translating what I understood to be the word of Allah. No translator can claim that he's translating the Quran.
Indeed, Prophet Muhammad, sorry to interrupt. Indeed, Prophet Muhammad had said on his last sermon, you read and understand the Quran. Yes. He didn't say, I'm assigning the Quran to be interpreted by Al-Azhar University or some sheikh. He said, you read and understand. And that's precisely what you're doing, sir.
Yes. Actually, none of us can claim any holiness to his Quran translation. Not Yusuf Ali, not
Muhammad Asad.
No one can.
Yes.
So at best, it is my understanding to what the Quran says. You can also download that and read it. It's simple English, easy to understand. And I'm still working on it, by the way, because working on the Quran translation is not something that can stop at a particular time or after publication. Quran, the more knowledgeable we are, the more the Quran reveals of its meaning. So it's a continuous job. And I created an organization for this purpose. So the translation would not be mine alone, but it will be the ownership of Muslims in general. And that organization has Quranic scholars and scientists. We have scientists from NASA working with us, and we have Quran scholars from Al-Azhar universities, Aligarh universities, and other places in the world working with us. So hopefully, by the end of the year, we'll print another Quran translation that will be updated. Humanity did not stop discovering the universe. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that order each one of us to walk around, look and observe, and understand his miracles. To understand his miracles, all of us have the job of learning, advancing ourselves in the knowledge of everything, and trying to better understand the Quran. The most God-fearing, the most God-conscious people are those scientists who understand the way the universe is created or how the human being is created. Because those miracles of Allah are not only in the universe, but are also within us. So, in my opinion, the guy that discovered the blood circulation in our body is a better Muslim than one who spent all his life praying all the time, because one helped himself only, the other helped the humanity. And the closer to humanity you are, or to helping humanity you are, the closer to Allah you are. This is from the Quran, not from me, not my own opinion. Is what the Quran teaches us. If we, in its totality, as a matter of fact, don't take a particular verse and tell me that this verse say this and that. Yes, I know what this verse is saying, but if you understand the Quran in its totality, it's asking us to try to get, first of all, to believe in one God, then to try to get close to Allah in any way possible. And the best way to get closer to Him is to serve other human beings, to serve and to love other human beings. You can help yourself by doing sadaqat, by doing your prayer, your siyam. We have to do this. They're mandatory acts of worship, and I do them. In that sense, I'm an Orthodox Muslim, in that sense. In another sense, I like to think of myself as a thinker, because I don't take anything for granted. Like Mike, who used to think he's the only one that doesn't take things for granted, now we're two. So anything that Allah is telling me, I try to think about it, let alone what other people are telling me. Of course, we have to think about it. And just because it was practiced 1,500 years ago doesn't make it correct today. We really have to think about everything before we do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is where I come from.
Dr. Cobbs, since you are the moderator, with your permission, I would like to go back to the original topic of today, and a question that troubles my mind. I'd like to get Dr. Kashkat's opinion on that, about Zabiha. We have been told, and we believe, that this Zabiha, this Qurbani, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. And then that was replaced by a sheep or whatever. I just get very troubled by thinking that Allah, who is such a Rahman and Rahim, even for testing, how could he ask his prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son? It just, I'm very troubled by the fact that how could Allah test? There are other ways of testing. Recently, I heard that it was not Allah's command to Hazrat Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. He saw it in his dream that Allah asked him to do it, and he was doing it.
Yes.
So I would like your clarification on that.
I am of the opinion, you just said it, he saw in his dream, and he decided, because it's inconceivable for me, like
Right.
it was inconceivable for you, to think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's Rahman and Rahim, will ask anybody to kill their own son. I just told you, it's not my money that's dear to me, it's my son. Now,
Right.
if I...
So you are...
Yeah, wait. If I hear Allah telling me to sacrifice that son that I have, wallahi, I will do it. But Sayyidina Ibrahim did not hear Allah commanding him. It wasn't revealed to him. He saw in his dream, and he decided to obey.
That's a very important point. Until recently, I kept thinking, and I was very troubled by the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Hazrat Ibrahim to sacrifice his son. Although Allah intended right from the beginning that he would not let that happen. But even testing, it sounded very cruel to me, but since I have a blind faith in Islam, I never questioned it. But I was so elated when recently I heard that it was his dream. He saw it in his dream and he wanted to do it. And you are, if I understand it right, you are confirming that.
Yes, I am. Because that's what the Quran says. It's not what I'm saying. Ibrahim told his son, I see in the dream that I am azbahak means I'm cutting your throat. Doesn't even say sacrifice. It's azbahak. I'm cutting your throat. So, and his son said, do what you're ordered to do.
Right.
So Ibrahim was under the impression that Allah wants him to do this.
So he was under the impression.
And he tried to do it. But Allah is with us all the time. Right now, Allah hears what we're saying. And they are those kataba, those angels that record everything, and they don't have a pen nor a paper. It's a different way of recording everything. They are recording our conversation here. And they know about your question. And it's all recorded. And on the day of judgment, it'll all be played back. So what I'm trying to tell you, it's a dream. That's what the Quran teach me. That's my understanding. I hope I'm not wrong, but these are the words. They're very simple, used in the Quran.
Right.
I see in my dream that I'm killing you. So anyway, maybe Abraham thought there is a difference between a dream, which is in Arabic manam, or a ru'ya, which is something higher than a dream. It's like an order coming to him through that dream. I don't know which one. I wasn't there. All I can do is use my common sense, and I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more merciful toward each one of us than a mother with her own child, with her own baby. So I don't think that will be a question. But each one of us will know. If he hear an order from Allah, will know this is from Allah. Don't ask me how, but I'm telling you, you will know. If Allah asks you to do something, you will know it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to correct that situation and tell us about it in the Quran. Now, how this situation was interpreted by other people, that's up to them. Whether they mislead us or whether in their devotion they try to convince us of something, or they were convinced of something else, that's up to them. But the whole thing came to Abraham alayhi salam in a dream. And Allah told him, you have confirmed the ru'ya. You have confirmed what you saw in your dream. That's from the Quran.
Yeah.
لَقَدْ صَدَّقْتَ الرُّؤْيَا. You have confirmed what you saw in your dream. So in a sense, it was all in a dream, not a direct order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knows best. And Allah knows best. I'm not claiming what I'm saying is the truth. Allah knows best, but it's my understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, your microphone. Yes.
It's broken.
No.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Okay.
A few Muslims have reduced Islam to a religion of rituals. That's all they can think of. I met with a lot of evangelical pastors, and that was in summary, they said, when we invite somebody to come and speak about Islam, all they talk about is the 5 pillars. And we understood Islam just as that. But Islam is much, much more than that. It is, as Dr. Kaskas mentioned, God wants us to care for his creation, that is fellow humans and the environment. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, led the way in establishing the role of a model citizen, also known as Al Amin. And we are going to talk about in the next few weeks what is Al Amin means, what does it impact, how does it impact us, and Tawheed, what does it mean, how is it understood, then accountability of one's action, number 4, truthfulness, and also the right-wing people on the media talk about taqiyya. We will talk about taqiyya. Justice, what is justice in Islam? How does it make the world a better place? And forgiveness, how does forgiveness make one a better person and create peace in the world? And service to mankind, as Dr. Safi Kaskas mentioned twice. Humility, equality, that includes gender equality, And item number 10, pluralism in Islam and free will, civil dialogue, and few other values. Dr. Kaskas, we got about 7 or 8 minutes. You want to conclude about these values?
Yes, indeed. It is extremely important for American Muslim specifically, and Muslims in general, but specifically American Muslim, and those Muslims who are living as a minority among non-Muslim, to try to understand the values that the Quran try to give us in order for us to be better people. You know, no one is going to go to heaven unless unless he is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be is kind, giving, loving, and learning from pain that we are experiencing, and trying to feel the pain of others, sympathizing with others.
Rahma.
Because without sympathizing with other people, it's very hard for us to be kind or to be generous or to be complete human beings. And Jannah is for those who were able on earth to better themselves, to give from themselves, to fight their own egos, nafs al-ammara bis-su, their nafs that order selfishness to every human being. If we're not able to fight selfishness and become selfless, it's very hard for us to be able at the end to make it and be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for eternity. Allah wants with him in eternity those people that had a free choice, all human beings. The greatest gift God gave us, what he called al-amana, is free choice, our freedom to choose. If we're not able to use this freedom to choose to better ourselves, be better human beings, we don't deserve to be with him unless with his grace, he knows better and he knows our heart. It's up to him. Neither I nor anybody else can say who's going to be in heaven for sure. But I'm giving you general criteria that I understand from the Quran. And general criteria will tell me that we have to work on our own selves first and try to give good advice to our children and to our members of the family and to our friends, so we all together can fight to be better human beings and more generous human beings.
Indeed. Friends, one of the issues that is very difficult for many Muslims is understanding slavery in Islam. Dr. Kaskas and I'm looking at a studio in Washington area where we can have a conversation like this. It will be broadcasted both on YouTube as well as Zoom. But more than anything else, it would be a live. We're looking for about 15 people to come and sit as an audience to ask tough questions like Sister Yusuf had asked. These are the questions that are really burning in people's hearts that needs to be addressed. So inshallah, we'll start that soon. And we got 4 more minutes. And any comments, anybody wants to make a short comment? Ibrahim Saab, you have a short comment on this?
I have. Hello?
Yes, we're
here. We can hear you.
Dr. Kaskas gave a summary, which is very good. But many people should be aware about the age of the animal and making sure that when they do the udhiyah, the slaughter, they do not do it in front of the animal. That's part of the humane part of it, and not kicking the animal, not punching them in the eye, and things like that. So I just want to bring that as a point, the age of the animal, and 7 people sharing one cow or a camel. All of those are very important. It doesn't have to be one person, everyone, each one, But thank you very much.
Thank you, Habib. We got 3 more minutes. We got 3 more minutes. There is Shafi and Ibrahim Sayed. You can make a quick 1-minute comment. We got 3 more minutes left.
My point is, this Qurbani sacrifice is not Aqidah. It's not 5 pillars. So
Yeah.
if somebody does not follow, if somebody does not sacrifice or gives the money to deserving place, that should be acceptable.
Yes.
So this is not mandatory. You see, if it is a sunnah, a lot of people choose sunnah. For example,
Yes.
beard.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Beard, growing beard is not in the Quran.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yes.
So
I said if you do it, you get reward. If you don't
Yeah.
do it, there is no
Exactly.
punishment for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Exactly.
Islam is.
Yes.
That's what Islam is.
Yes. Okay.
But
Very good.
people are so tied up with the hadith, if I don't have beard, they criticize me. If I don't have a cap when I'm praying in the masjid, they put a cap on my head. And then if my shirt is tied up in the pant, they say, you remove shirt, you should not tie.
That's all new to me. That's fine to hear. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim Sayed. And you run an organization called Islamic Research. Just tell a few seconds what it is.
We are devoted to critical thinking.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, we give opposing points of view. If I say there is no hijab in Islam, particularly the Quran does not say hijab is there, I have written articles on that, proving from the Quran does not mandate the hijab.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to oppose that point, he should give that point and will publish it, but should give the quotations from the Quran, and that is not personal opinion.
Yeah.
They tell me you are not Arab speaking, you did not go to Al Azhar University. This is peripheral attack.
Sure. You know what my answer to them is?
Yeah.
Prophet Muhammad gave me the authorization, not Al Azhar. Prophet Muhammad told me to read and understand the Quran. That is my authorization.
Exactly.
And every Muslim should do that.
But unfortunately, the great scholars like Qurtubi and Tabari and Ibn Kasir, they have all defined wrongly. Duyub means breast. They have defined duyub means neck, head, face, ears. All that thing is included. That's not true.
All right. We'll get back next Sunday.
Yeah.
And Dr. Safi Kaska's last word, and we'll conclude it.
Last word is I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us steadfast on his straight path and give us tawfiq and sadad in everything that we do.
Amen.
And if I have said something that is good and it's correct, it's from Allah. And if I said something bad, it's from my own self. So please forgive me. Thank you very much.
Amen for the dua. Thank you very much.
Amen.
See you all next Sunday.
Jazakallah.
As-salama. Thank you.
Salama.
Jazakallah khair.
Hello.